Go, 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 go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to John Dudley Speaks. I'm your host, Yeezy Porn. Generational artist Kanye West is a man that needs no introduction, mainly because of his many successful projects over the course of the last 2 decades, greatly influencing a myriad of artists and genre hybrids in the process. And let me start this off by saying I too am a huge Kanye West fan. He's made some of the most important music that I've ever heard, and if not for him, I would not be into the music that I love now. Also, he's just a massive innovator, and the landscape of our culture would be unrecognizable without him. That being said, he's obviously had a rocky start to the 2020s decade, and that's being kind. Aside from his headline-grabbing 2021 rollout for Donda, each successive musical development that he has brought forward has been submerged in some kind of turmoil, whether that be the Donda 2 listening party and the subsequent stem player debacle, his painfully weak feature verses, and now the Vultures trilogy, which has been mired in years-long public controversies and leaks that Ye just can't seem to get away from. Not to mention the Nazi-sized stain on his career would have canceled literally anybody else, but yet here we are, still discussing him and his new record with Ty Dolla $ign. But honestly, after this shit showing on Vultures 2, we probably shouldn't be. Because Vultures 1 was, and I say keyword was, the worst album that either of these artists had ever attached their name to. But now, Vultures 2 has moved the bar when it comes to that metric substantially, and it's almost like it's not even fair to compare it to Vultures 1. Because at least the last record was listenable in spots. This, however, is just complete and utter dog shit. Let's get the acceptable aspects out of the way. The jet black tone of the production aesthetics are interesting, undoubtedly, and continue on the same trajectory that Donda instilled into Kanye's sound. Some slightly positive notes, the entrancing synths on Slide from Fred Again, the trashy offbeat drum passages on Time Moving Slow, the Utopia-inspired noir trap of Field Trip, the throwback soul-inflected sample on 530, the Led Zeppelin drum samples on Lifestyle, and the guitar-led emo trap instrumental on Sky City. Outside of those highlights, I didn't really connect to anything in this project musically. First and foremost, I know that the album has a patch coming and the updates will be made to the mixing to correct it, but I don't really think that's the root cause of this album sounding hopelessly terrible. Everything here aesthetically is held back by horrid pacing and track progressions, with each instrumental layer building on top of each other without a release or a normal climax, amping up the tension only for it to lead to nothing, especially on the weak opener Slide and the follow-up Time Moving Slow. Promotion has bursts of cloudy, synth-laden backdrops, but Kanye drops them in and out over and over again, leading to a jarring contrast with the vocals that's quite irritating. Field Trip, while kind of fun, is way too guilty of trying to emulate artists like Travis Scott and the featured artist on this track, Playboi Carti, just with a comparatively abusive amount of reverb to make the track sound bigger, but instead it comes together as loud rather than inventive like Kanye must think it does. The biggest crime on this album musically is Husband and Lifestyle, with the former's stark minimalism putting you to sleep immediately, while the latter is so goddamn cluttered with various production elements it's nearly unlistenable. Honestly, if you want a better album with something chaotic like that, just go listen to the new Peggy instead. Pretty much everything else here suffers from the above. Just undercooked, unfinished, unrealized beats mixed with overproduced, directionless, too many cooks in the kitchen slop. And it makes it difficult to even progress past the back end of the record to finish it. But just you wait, it gets worse. I didn't think Kanye and Ty could get worse than Vultures 1, but here they've really sunk to a new low. And it doesn't even sound like they're having fun doing it, to be honest. Obviously, since this is basically a demo album in its current form, not all lyrics are in and there's reference tracks for melodies, but if that changed, honestly, would this be any different? No, because we know Ty's gonna sing and rap about the same old themes and Kanye's gonna sing and rap about the same old themes. It's just that nothing that they say comes across as important, interesting, or fresh. The lone saving grace on the lyrical front for me on this record was the bare minimum effort given by Wayne and Carti, but otherwise Kanye and Ty's songwriting is a non-starter, failing to tether any of their ideas together on one song and using shock value as their main draw. Thing is, that would work if the one-liners were funny and good, but they suck ass. It's not like Kanye isn't able to bridge together motifs about his life and experience, while tying it to song structures that deal with the party lifestyle, but his constant ramblings and musings are exhaustive and hard to listen to. Not to mention, Ty doesn't have anything good to say on this record other than, oh, I'm so good at fucking this bitch, and we're pouring up drinks, and come through, and just endlessly vague pop R&B tropes that are executed poorly and are just dead on arrival. And Kanye, if you used AI for these verses, that's weak as shit.
Neighbors know this shit get out of hand, but they smile, cause you've been so long without a man.
Before listening to Fried, I thought we'd be in for a similar artist performance to Vultures 1, but good god, after listening to it, this is so much worse. The cracking in both Kanye and Ty's voices is ghastly, and honestly is an insult to the actual talent that these guys possess. I mean, I have no fucking idea who thought that this was a good take from either one of them. As for the flows, I mean, I'll say it, I don't think Kanye knows how to rap anymore. He hits one flow and sticks with it without injecting any personality or character to it, unless he's injecting insane, desperate for attention bars or literal screams. 530 is a good example of what could happen if Kanye provides the bare minimum expectation. But still, this is a demo track leak that, in my opinion, would still be mild if it was finished, because Kanye's delivery lacks any kind of energy or spark. In essence, he sounds tired and uninterested. Then there's Ty, who just runs through the motions in the worst way possible, giving us the most boring rap sung hooks that are sleep-inducing and typical, using a bevy of effects to levitate what he cut in the studio, and we're left with something that's genuinely so forgettable, I can't believe that they thought that this was ready for release. There's an inherent pretentiousness to this piece of shit demo of a studio album that uses musical passages often to pad the runtime and song lengths with fluff that sounds self-serious rather than tangibly decadent. Like Slide, for instance, while not the worst song here, that belongs to Husband, it takes forever to end because Kanye and Ty pump it with all this pompous filler just to take our minds off of how thin the song is at its core. The trap cuts are weak in comparison to Carnival and Fuck Something from the last record, and once we hit Husband, it's a consistent onslaught of the worst music Kanye has ever made. Bomb has his children North and Chicago laying down verses, and I'm pretty sure it was at this point where I wanted to bash my head into the wall. Obviously, they're kids, so this is not their fault, but why their dad thought that doubling down on the viral moment from Talking would be something that we'd accept is kind of insulting to everyone involved. River just made me want to go and listen to Leon Bridges by the time the track was over, and Sky City reminded me that Kanye has done this shtick way better back in 2018 with Cudi Montage. Plus, the gospel touches of My Soul feel so unearned in their emotional appeal, it just really makes you want the project to end a lot faster. So yeah, it's an interminable 51 minutes of 99% garbage from someone that we should expect way more from. And the fact that this is in our hands and we can even listen to it is an embarrassment for both Ye and Ty, considering what they could be doing instead, which is, I don't know, scrapping this piece of shit album and starting fresh with something that's actually interesting.
Do or die, you and I, like a blank page. See inside, most high, maybe. Like a hopeless.
This is barely an album. It's just a last-ditch effort to remain in the conversation from an insecure man who fell from grace, and a washed R&B singer who's riding his coattails for fame and attention. Just an abysmal failure on all fronts, aside for some mildly passable moments. And it just doubles down on a lot of the major glaring issues from Vultures 1, exacerbating them to an even bigger extent, drowning the ingenuity out in favor of misguided ideas and lackluster execution. Not to mention, I feel like we should hold Kanye West to a much higher standard than we have lately these last 5 years. And I think we're kidding ourselves when we just sit here and act like Vultures 1 and Vultures 2 are worthy of our praise, when this man is the same man that had the run of Dropout through 808s, as well as going on a separate run of Dark Fantasy, Throne, Yeezus, and Pablo. It's like being fine with the Beatles or Michael Jackson or Prince dropping a dodgy, poorly conceived, produced like shit record, then packaging it as a this guy's a genius thing when it's just subpar bullshit that's below this person's skill. So maybe if we stop accepting his scraps, he'll finally come back with something worthwhile. But hey, that's just my perspective. If you're a Kanye fan, come on. This man dropped Life of the Party not even 3 years ago. You know that we deserve better than this and that he's capable of better than this. Alright, that's all I got. Bye!